So I just wanted to share a little bit of a reflection some connections that I made. I sort of browsed through a few of the scholars that were reviewed by our colleagues from previous EDC 532 modules. And four of them called my attention, and you can see them here. So I'm just going to sort of share some ideas, some connections I made among these four scholars, new literacy scholars. So beginning with Mimi Ito, she brings this concept of online affinity networks, which I think talks to the concept of participatory cultures brought by Jenkins. And there is also some connection to danah Boyd's ethnographic study of teenage social media use. I'm thinking that the social cultural perspective is so present in all of these, because you see that Mimi Ito brings the fact that powerful learning stems from, takes place in these online affinity networks in which youth gets together around some sort of authentic community, say gaming, for example, or esports. And there's clearly an approach to learning, which is a learning community type of approach. So she brings in the concept of learning heroes, which I find very, very, very powerful. So you have, probably kids from different ages, right? Mentoring each other, but you also have adults, so teachers and mentors, adults that will be learning heroes as well, right? So I think that online affinity networks are very much connected to the participatory cultures that Jenkins mentions, describes as also being such a powerful dimension of the internet, right? And danah Boyd brings in this reflection of the rise in teenage social media use as a response to a growing movement of restriction to their socialization in public spaces. So I think that what's really speaking here to me is the fact that youth needs the social connection. I mean, humans need social connection in order to, experience identity formation. So when you talk about youth, you talk about teenagers, they're experimenting with identities because they're forming their identities. And the fact that restrictions have been growing to their public insertion in the world and interactions by their parents and families, they go for technology to seek that connection. So social connection and interaction is important, and they need that for their becoming, for this identity formation, right? So Mimi Ito will talk about the connected learning experience, right? So again, social cultural connection around technological artifacts and symbols, social media and what technological platforms, video games, devices, enable youth to do, which is ultimately to connect with each other, to form communities, to celebrate what they like, what they have in common. So when you talk about fanfics, and Jenkins goes a little bit into this, and Mimi Ito as well. I brought in James Paul Gee I'm sorry, G. I mispronounced his name just now. I was, being Brazilian and English being a second language. I wasn't sure about whether it was G or G. Anyway, G. So James Paul G brings in, I think, this linguist brings in, I think, something so crucial to the social cultural perspective of literacy, which is this difference between discourse with a capital D and discourse with a small d. I was blown away by this. So just the fact that you bring discourse, capital D, from your intimate circles, so from your family, in your intimate relationships, immediate relationships, but then the fact that you will also build your identity based on other discourses. So he talks about secondary discourses as being a discourse that you will pick up from other social connections in school, in church, in other groups outside of your home, right? So I think that this difference between these two types of discourses brings in the dimension of power and identity. And I think that it's so important for us to understand the social cultural perspective. And again, the socialization and interaction is also present in these two concepts of discourse, right? So to me, what all of these guys here, these two ladies and these two guys are saying here to make, I think, a final connection between all four is how critical social and cultural interaction is for youth, for humans in general, but for youth, especially teenagers, to sample their identities and to experiment with different roles in the world around stuff that they like, stuff that they enjoy doing with one another together, be it a boy band or a video game or, geeking out, some platform like Jenkins talks about the geeking out culture, becoming really good at something with your friends. So to me, all of these four new literacy scholars are saying that critical digital literacies go hand in hand with a social cultural perspective of literacy that is politically charged and engaged, and that needs to be discussed and developed with our youth and our educators. Really bring this to the fore, this discussion of literacy as a powerful construct, sociological concept that needs to be enacted in our pedagogical practices.